Hello viewers, welcome to Sindhu English. இன்னைக்கு நம்ம சேனல்ல டெஸ்ட் MCQ சீரியஸஸ் யூனிட் 2 பார்க்க போறோம். யூனிட் 2 English literature from 1601 to 1798. So first poetry John Milton's Paradise Lost, Book 9. What is the primary theme of Paradise Lost, Book 9? The answer is the fall of Adam and Eve. Who tempts Eve in Paradise Lost, Book 9? The answer is Satan. What fruit does Eve eat in Paradise Lost, Book 9? The unknown fruit. ஸோ அதில் வந்து ஃப்ரூட் நேம் சொல்ல மாட்டாங்க. அதை வந்து பார்த்திங்கன்னா the tree of knowledge அப்படி தான் மென்ஷன் பண்ணியிருப்பாங்க. என்ன ஃப்ரூட் அப்படிங்கிறத மென்ஷன் பண்ணியிருக்க மாட்டாங்க. That is the unknown fruit. What literary form is Paradise Lost written in? So Paradise Lost is called as epic poem. What motivates Satan to tempt Eve in Paradise Lost? What motivates Satan to tempt Eve in Paradise Lost? Love for Eve, revenge against God, desire for power. The answer is both B and C. ஒன்று பார்த்தீங்கன்னா revenge against God, இன்னொன்று desire for power. ரெண்டுமே ஆன்சர்ஸ் வரும். Next, Andrew Marvell to his coy mistress. What is the main theme of To His Coy Mistress? Answer is carpe diem, seize the day. அதான். What poetic structure does Marvell use in his To His Coy Mistress? What poetic structure does Marvell use in To His Coy Mistress? The answer is heroic couplets. What does the speaker urge his mistress to do To His Coy Mistress? What does the speaker urge his mistress to do To His Coy Mistress? The answer is seize the moment and embrace love. The phrase time winged chariot is an important question. The phrase chimes winged chariot into his coy mistress refers to the inevitability of death. What tone does Marvell employ To His coy mistress? What tone does Marvell employ To His coy mistress? The answer is persuasive. Next, John Donne, the canonization. The canonization is an example of which type of poetry? The answer is metaphysical poetry. What is the central argument of the speaker in canonization? Love elevates the lovers to the sainthood. Love elevates the lovers to sainthood. இதுதான் வந்து central argument. What literary device is prominent in the canonization? What literary device is prominent in canonization? The answer is conceit. In the canonization, the lovers are compared to saints and martyrs. What is the tone of canonization? What is the tone of canonization? Ironic and playful. Next topic, Alexander Pope, The Rape of the Lock. So The Rape of the Lock is written in which poetic form? The answer, heroic couplets. So remember, Alexander Pope was the best example to use the heroic couplets. What is the central incident in The Rape of the Lock? இதனுடைய central incident என்ன அப்படின்னா the cutting of a lock of hair. What is the primary tone of The Rape of the Lock? What is the primary tone of The Rape of the Lock? Mock heroic. Who is the protagonist of the rape of the log? Who is the protagonist of the rape of the log? The answer is Belinda. What role do the sylphs play in the rape of the log? To protect Belinda. They protect Belinda. Now let us say John Dryden, Absalom and Achitophel. So Absalom and Achitophel is an example of political satire. Absalom and Achitophel is an example of political satire. Why does Absalom represent in, who does Absalom represent in Absalom and Achitophel? Who does Absalom represent in Absalom and Achitophel? The Duke of Monmouth. The Duke of Monmouth. What biblical story is Absalom and Achitophel based on? The Absalom's rebellion against the David. What is the primary purpose of Absalom and Achitophel? To defend King Charles II rule. What form is Absalom and Achitophel written in? The answer is heroic couplets. So Drydenum heroic couplet தான் யூஸ் பண்ணி அந்த போயமை எழுதியிருப்பாங்க. Thomas Gray elegy written in a country churchyard. What is the setting of elegy written in country churchyard? The answer is a rural churchyard. What is the main theme of Gray's elegy? What is the main theme of Gray's elegy? The inevitability of death. What poetic form is elegy written in country churchyard written in? What poetic form is elegy written in a country churchyard written in? The answer is quatrains. What does Gray reflect on in the elegy? What does Gray reflect on in the elegy? The potential of the poor and obscure. The tone of elegy written in a country churchyard is melancholic and reflective. Next we are going to see the prose and fiction. First one, Samuel Johnson's Life of Milton. What is the primary focus of Samuel Johnson's Life of Milton? So Milton's literary achievements. In Life of Milton, Johnson is critical of Milton's political views. What genre does Life of Milton belong to? What genre does the Life of Milton belong to? So this one belongs to the category biography. Johnson's Life of Milton is part of which larger work? Johnson's Life of Milton is a part of which larger work? So எந்த ஒர்க்கினுடைய ஒரு பகுதி இது அப்படின்னு கேட்குறாங்க. So 34th answer is the lives of poets. What is Johnson's tone in Life of Milton? What is Johnson's tone in the Life of Milton? Balanced but critical. Balanced but critical. Next we are going to see the fiction, Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels. What is the primary purpose of Gulliver's Travel? What is the primary purpose of Gulliver's Travel? To satirize the human nature and society. In Gulliver's Travel, what is the name of the land of tiny people? Okay, so அவர் வந்து ஒவ்வொரு ஐலாண்டை ட்ராவல் பண்ணுவார் இல்லையா. ஸோ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஐலாண்டில் அவர் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ரொம்ப டைனி பீப்புள்ஸை அவர் மீட் பண்ணுவார். அப்போ எந்த பிளேஸ் அப்படின்னு கேட்குறாங்க. இன் கலீவர்ஸ் ட்ராவல் வாட் இஸ் த நேம் ஆஃப் த land of tiny people? The answer is Lilliput. What is the profession of Lemuel Gulliver? What is the profession of Lemuel Gulliver? The answer is surgeon. In which land does Gulliver encounter the rational horses? In which land does Gulliver encounter the rational horses? Houndhems. Houndhems. What literary technique does Swift heavily use in Gulliver's Travels? What literary techniques does Swift heavily use in Gulliver's Travels? The answer is satire. Next topic, John Bunyan, The Pilgrim's Progress. What is the genre of The Pilgrim's Progress? Allegory. What is the name of the protagonist in The Pilgrim's Progress? Christian. What is the destination of Christian's journey in The Pilgrim's Progress? What is the destination of Christian's journey in The Pilgrim's Progress? The answer is Celestial City. ஸோ இதை நோக்கி அவர் பயணம் போகிறாரு. அதுக்கு நடுவில் என்னென்ன பிரச்சனைகள் எல்லாம் சந்திக்கிறாரு அப்படிங்கிறது தான் அந்த ஸ்டோரி, பில்கிரிம்ஸ் ப்ராக்ரஸ். What does the slough of Despond symbolize in the Pilgrim's Progress? Slough of Despond. The answer is despair and doubt. What is the primary theme of the Pilgrim's Progress? What is the primary theme of the Pilgrim's Progress? The spiritual journey to salvation. Next topic, Daniel Defoe, Robinson Crusoe. What is the full title of Robinson Crusoe? What is the full title of Robinson Crusoe? The Life and Strange Surprising Adventure of Robinson Crusoe. இதுதான் அதோடைய full title. The Life and Strange Surprising Adventures of Robinson Crusoe. What motivates Robinson Crusoe to leave home? What motivates Robinson Crusoe to leave home? A desire for adventure. Who is Friday in Robinson Crusoe? Who is Friday in Robinson Crusoe? A native Crusoe receives. A native Crusoe receives. ஃப்ரைடேங்கிறது ஒரு கேரக்டருடைய பேர். What is a major theme of Robinson Crusoe? Survival and self-reliance. Survival and self-reliance. What narrative style is used in Robinson Crusoe? What narrative style is used in Robinson Crusoe? The answer is first person. Next drama, John Dryden, All for Love. All for Love is a retelling which of Shakespearean play? All for Love is a retelling of which Shakespearean play? The answer is Antony and Cleopatra. ஷேக்ஸ்பியருடைய ஆண்டனி அண்ட் கிளியோபாட்ரா கதையை தான் திரும்ப அவர் சொல்லியிருப்பார். ஜான் ட்ரைடன் ஆல் ஃபார் லவ் அப்படிங்கிற பேரில் வெளியிட்டிருப்பார். What is the central conflict in All for Love? What is the central conflict in All for Love? Love versus duty. Who is the female protagonist in All for Love? Who is the female protagonist in All for Love? Answer is Cleopatra. What is the tragic outcome of All for Love? So, இதோட tragic outcome என்ன அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, ரெண்டு பேருமே இறுதியில் இறந்துடுவாங்க. ஆண்டனி அண்ட் கிளியோபாட்ரா டை. What form is All for Love written in? Blank verse. Next, Richard B. Sheridan, that is R.B. Sheridan, The School for Scandal. What is the primary genre of The School for Scandal? Comedy of manners. Who is the main source of gossip in The School for Scandal? Lady Sneedville. What is the key theme of The School for Scandal? The dangers of gossip. What is the name of the virtuous brother in School for Scandal? What is the name of the virtuous brother in The School for Scandal? The answer is Charles Surface. ஸோ ரெண்டு பேர் இருக்காங்க இல்லையா, சார்ல்ஸ் சர்ஃபேஸ், ஜோசப் சர்ஃபேஸ். இந்த ரெண்டு பேரில் யார் வந்து ரொம்ப கைண்ட் பர்சன், விர்ச்சுவஸ் பர்சன் அப்படின்னு கேட்குறாங்க. வாட் இஸ் த செட்டிங் ஆஃப் த ஸ்கூல் ஃபார் ஸ்கேண்டல்? லண்டன் ஹை சொசைட்டி. நெக்ஸ்ட் டாபிக், வில்லியம் கான்கிரீவ், த வே ஆஃப் த வேர்ல்ட். வாட் இஸ் த ஜெனியர் ஆஃப் த வே ஆஃப் த வேர்ல்ட்? ஸோ இதுவுமே பார்த்தீங்க அப்படின்னா காமெடி ஆஃப் மேனர்ஸ். Who is the protagonist in The Way of the World? Who is the protagonist of The Way of the World? Mirabel. What is the central plot of The Way of the World? What is the central plot of The Way of the World? A romantic intrigue involving marriage. What is Lady Wishfort's primary concern in The Way of the World? What is Lady Wishfort's primary concern in The Way of the World? The answer is maintaining her social status. What literary device is prominent in The Way of the World? The answer is witty dialogue. Next topic, Oliver Goldsmith, She Stoops to Conquer. What is the subtitle of She Stoops to Conquer? So, இது another important questions. ஏற்கனவே நம்மளுடைய PG TRB examsல கேட்டிருக்காங்க. What is the subtitle of She Stoops to Conquer? The answer is The Mistakes of Night. What is the primary genre of She Stoops to Conquer? So, this one is farce. Why does Kate Hardcastle stoop in She Stoops to Conquer? To win Marlowe's love. To win Marlowe's love. What is the main source of humor in She Stoops to Conquer? What is the main source of humor in She Stoops to Conquer? The answer is mistaken identities. What is the setting of She Stoops to Conquer? What is the setting of She Stoops to Conquer? The answer is a rural estate. Now we are going to see the general questions. Which work is considered a restoration comedy? Which work is considered a restoration comedy? The answer is The Way of the World. Which author wrote both poetry and drama? Which author wrote both poetry and drama? The answer is John Dryden. Which work is an allegory of Christian journey? So, Christian அப்படிங்கிறது ஒரு கேரக்டரோட பேர். Which work is an allegory of Christian journey? The answer is The Pilgrim's Progress. Which work uses the mock heroic style? Which work uses the mock heroic style? The answer is Rape of the Lock. Which author is associated with metaphysical poetry? Which author is associated with metaphysical poetry? The answer is John Donne. Which work critiques the 18th century English society? Which work critiques the 18th century English society? The answer is School for Scandal. Which work is written in blank verse? So the rape of the lock, Absalom, Nutstropel, இதெல்லாம் வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஹீரோயிக் கப்லெட்ஸில் எழுதியிருப்பாங்க. அப்போ blank verseல எதை யூஸ் பண்ணியிருப்பாங்கன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா Paradise Lost. Which work is written in blank verse? The answer is Paradise Lost. Which work explores the theme of survival on a deserted island? The answer is Robinson Crusoe. Which author is known for his satirical style? Which author is known for his satirical style? Jonathan Swift. Which work is a biography of a poet? Which work is a biography of a poet? The answer is Life of Milton. Which work is set in ancient Egypt? Which work is set in ancient Egypt? The answer is All for Love. Which work features a female protagonist named Belinda? Protagonist Belinda, yarana? The Rape of the Lock. Which work uses the heroic couplets extensively? Which work uses the heroic couplets extensively? The Rape of the Lock. Which work is a political allegory? Which work is a political allegory? That is Absalom and Achtophel. Which work is a comedy of mistaken identities? Mistaken identities. She stoops to conquer. Which author wrote during the Restoration period? Which author wrote during the Restoration period? The answer is John Dryden. Which work is an epic poem? Epic poem? The answer is Paradise Lost. Which work critiques the vanity of high society? Which work critiques the vanity of high society? The School for Scandal. Which work features a character named Christian? The Pilgrim's Progress. Which work is a satire of human nature? Gulliver's Travels. Which work explores the theme of love versus duty? All for Love. Which work is written in quatrains? Elegy written in a country churchyard. Which author is known for his use of metaphysical concepts? John Donne. Which work is a mock epic? The Rape of the Lock. Which work is a religious allegory? Religious allegory. The Pilgrim's Progress. Which work features the characters named Lady Wishford? So Lady Wishford எந்த பிளேல வருவாங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லிருக்காங்க. Which work features the character named Lady Wishford? The answer is The Way of the World. Which work is a biography written in prose? Life of Milton. Which work uses the satire to critique the political figures? Which work uses satire to critique political figures? Absalom and Achtophel. Which work is a comedy of manners set in London? Which work is a comedy of manners set in London? The School for Scandal. Which work explores the theme of human isolation? Which work explores the theme of human isolation? The answer is Robinson Crusoe. ஓகே ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ், ஸோ இப்போ செகண்ட் யூனிட்டில் ஒரு 100 கொஷின்ஸஸ் நாம் இப்போ பார்த்துருக்குறோம். ஸோ இந்த கொஷின்ஸஸ் பார்த்தீங்க அப்படின்னா ஆன்சர்ஸ்லாம் வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ரிப்பீட்டடாக இருக்கிற மாதிரி தான் தோணும். ஆனால் எப்படி வேணாலும் கொஷின்ஸஸ் கேட்கலாம் அப்படிங்கிறதுனால தான் அதை கொடுத்துருக்கேன். ஸோ ஒரே கொஷின்ஸஸை எப்படியெல்லாம் நம்ம கேட்கலாம் அப்படிங்கிறதுக்காக தான் நான் இந்த செட்டஸ் கொடுத்துருக்குறேன். ஸோ இதே மாதிரி யூனிட் 3ல் நாம் 100 கொஷின்ஸஸை பார்க்கலாம் நெக்ஸ்ட் கிளாஸஸில். ஓகே ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ், ஸோ நம்மளோட சேனலை ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டைம் பார்க்குறீங்க அப்படின்னா மறக்காமல் சேனலை சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணிக்கோங்க. இந்த வீடியோ உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்சிருந்தது அப்படின்னு சொன்னால் லைக் பண்ணுங்கள், ஷேர் பண்ணுங்கள், கமெண்ட் பண்ணுங்கள். தேங்க்யூ ஆல்.